All right, team. Welcome to today's free webinar about visibility, getting loud or getting lost. And I say this all the time, if you are not visible in business, you are not going to be investable. And if you're a property investor, then visibility is key. So whether you're building a massive property portfolio or a global brand, or you just want to get some more traction on your social media, or you just want to have more conversations online and offline, so it's not just about social media, you need to be visible because visibility is not optional. It's like oxygen. You need it to succeed in business. And I've been saying this for a long, long time now. So all of this has been quite a long time coming. So if you're not invisible, you're not investable. And visibility is the art of getting what you want in business. So if you're new here, let's look at the different ways that we can connect. If you've not subscribed to this YouTube channel, please click subscribe. You'll find a whole host of different things on here. You will find some podcasts about property. You will find some talks just from me about an abundance of different topics. You will find interviews with the women from the Women in Property series and more to come, depending on when you're listening to this. So please do check all of that out. And if you find it useful, subscribe and tell more people about me. You'll also find me on Spotify. If you're very, very new to property and you want a space where you can ask questions without feeling ridiculed or without feeling like a deal source is going to jump on you or a mortgage broker is going to jump on you for lots and lots of sales, join my Property School for Beginners Facebook group. It is completely free. You can also find me at Steph the Property Teacher on every social media platform. And of course, you are watching this probably on YouTube, but you need to subscribe to Property School if you want to know a little bit more. Now, for those of you who are interested in joining my Visibility Accelerator 6-month program, it starts on the 13th of October. So if you're watching this and you want more information about this, you want to build that brand, you want to be completely visible, this is all that you will ever really need to be visible in your business. You might want to have a chat with me about joining us in October. So if you're new here and you don't know who the hell I am, well, I'm Steph. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm actually a serial entrepreneur now. But I didn't always start as an entrepreneur. Although I suppose it was always in me when I really think back, and I do talk about this in the Women in Property book if you're interested in reading. But I used to be an English teacher and I used to be in leadership, and I took that a little bit further and got some qualifications in leadership as well, in coaching and mentoring and business and ADHD and so on. But I started property in 2018 because I thought, oh, there's got to be more to life than this job. Now, that's not to say that there's anything wrong in teaching, because there absolutely isn't. I loved teaching, absolutely loved classroom teaching. I didn't like all the other stuff that went with it. So I decided to do some property because we did our own house. And then we went to a free seminar. And before you knew it, we'd invested about 40 grand in our property education. But I didn't start with money. I started with 2.5 grand saved, and I had a dream. And I wasn't sure how the hell I was going to buy properties until somebody taught me about using other people's money. And of course, then I had to get visible to do that. But now I'm a property investor and moving into bigger developments. I'm also a property mentor, coach, trainer, teacher, hand holder, arse kicker, whatever you want to call me. And I am the founder of a community, a small community for beginners called the Property School. I also invest in a variety of different things and make a variety of different pots of money in different, I suppose, facets, if you like. I have got multiple streams of income, whether that is through, crypto, stocks, shares, and that sort of thing. We do multiple streams of income investing. I'm also a freelance neurodiversity consultant, and I have been for a couple of years now. I'm also the curator of the Women in Property, Women in Trades, Truth About Teaching and ADHD Hair books. And there are more to come. Women in Property is the most popular at the moment. And if you know anyone who wants to get involved, please let me know. Also go for visibility. And in 2026, I am launching the Copy Company, which is going to be social media for investors, whether that is captions, reels, video content, copy content, and so on. That's what we're going to be doing. I've got a small team of English teachers who are getting on board with that, which is exciting. I've already launched, actually, so we should change this, the ADHD project. And it is starting with the first book, ADHD Hair, The Truth That Took Too Long, which are stories from various women who were diagnosed later in life with ADHD. And in 2026, we're launching the Boss Up Academy for teenagers, and we are going to be teaching them all about financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and so on, so forth. So that's a little bit about me. But you know what? Didn't always look this good on paper. So I started off in a place called Birkenhead on the Wirral. Now, if you're not familiar with the Wirral, you might be listening to this thinking, well, she sounds a little bit scouse. Well, I'm what you call a plastic scouser, or a wool, as the scousers would call me. So I lived in a place called Birkenhead, which is this top picture here. We lived in a two up, two down, around about where the mouse is there. And the houses got knocked down in 2003 because they were deemed unfit for human habitation. But I grew up with a single parent, who you can see in those two pictures there with me. And she pushed me and she championed me and she did everything she had to do to brainwash me into being successful. Because where I grew up, it was not that kind of area where people would go to sixth form, let alone university. All the demographics dictated that I failed and that I never got educated, but I did. And I graduated twice and I got a job that I absolutely was dying to get, which is to be an English teacher. But as you can see, this was one of my half terms. And I remember that stack, and that stack were two year 10 classes. Now, I was a bit ambitious going in on my half term trying to tackle these, because that pile of books right there would have took me about 4 hours. And that was just the same old story in teaching. But I did the right thing. But so why was I so unhappy? I loved teaching, I hated the system. Why was I so unhappy? Because I'd done everything right. I went to uni, I got the good job, I got the big house, which you can see there. And I got qualifications, I've got a pension, but it wasn't giving me what I wanted. In fact, I think I quite hated it. And there's a picture of me there of my last day of school. And yeah, it felt nice to say that I finally sacked my boss. This system failed me. It didn't give me the freedom. It didn't give me the money. It didn't give me what I wanted. Now, I'm not saying I've got a better life than teachers, because I've just got a different life, but it just wasn't for me forever. Now, why am I telling you my story? Well, because this is something that I tell on social media quite regularly. I tell it at networking events when I'm a guest speaker. I'll talk about it, you know, pepper it here and there on podcasts and so on. Because I think if you want to build a personal brand, people need to know where you've come from. Now, I'm not saying that you have to have got a sob story, haven't got to have had some terrible trauma happen in your life and then you've suddenly overcome it and then everyone claps for you and, oh, you're through to the final round and Simon Cowell gets his violin out. It doesn't have to be like that. But telling your story and building it around you is very, very important, because people are going to invest in you. They're not going to invest in the fonts, the logos, or the nice graphics that you create on social media. Christ, mine now is neon. It's like this cool neon 80s vibe. Some people might say it's unprofessional. I think it's me, and it depicts me and who I am. So the first question I'll ask you to reflect on: does everybody in your network know your story? And if not, why not? Now, I'm not saying that you have to share every single element of your personal life. There is so much that I do not share on social media. However, for anybody on the outside looking in, you might think, well, actually, she seems to share quite a bit. But that's not the case. I share enough so that people buy into me and my story. Not everybody does, and that's okay. So, you want to start thinking about, number one, the first thing you want to start thinking about is how you can start peppering in your social media your story. What do you do? Where have you come from? Why are you trying to build this business? Whether it's, property investing or something else. Why are you doing this? What's your passion? Start telling that story, because people will invest in what they can relate to. And if you're visible enough and they see you online and they think, actually, I can relate to that, you become more and more visible if they start engaging with it. All right. So But again, why am I telling you this story? I had to start telling my story. And by doing that, it helped me raise finance. People started investing in the story. All right. It wasn't about creating masses of viral content and polished and perfected videos. It was about showing up, telling people online and offline what we were doing. We were buying houses using other people's money, but it wasn't always the story. The story was, I used to be a teacher. Okay. And people invested in that. And they still do to this day because I'm a normal person. I was not born with generational wealth. In fact, I didn't have very much money in my bank at all when we began. And people have invested in that journey. It's led to me teaching other people how to do the same thing. And all I do is I tell the story. So have a little think about that. Now, anything that you notice there about what I've just been talking about, anything you notice about all of those slides, what have you noticed about every single slide? If you need to pause this webinar right now, please do. What do you notice about every single picture? Lo and behold, my freaking face. Okay. My face will be in just about everything I post. It is very rare that it isn't. And why is that? Because familiarity leads to trust. Okay. In fact, you will probably see my face on every single post if you really do go back. It'd be very, very strange if my face wasn't in it. Now, I've been criticized for this before, and I've had people say to me, oh, it's just vanity, it's just ego, it's this, it's that. And it really isn't. The reason I started posting using like my face, my partner's face, even looking at, the dogs and what have you, the reason I was doing that was so that people become familiar, so that I would be known as the go-to. If anybody was selling a house, they could come to me first. If anybody needed money, a place to put their money for a higher return, they come to me first. So I hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm really nervous, I don't really want to put my face in anything to begin. You know what? I'm not holding your hand through this. I'm not wrapping you up in cotton wool. Build the bridge and get over it. So this is what most people don't realize. If nobody knows that you are in business, you might as well not be. If you're not posting your face, people are going to scroll. They don't care about text. They don't care about fonts and images and, stock images and logos. They care about the person. People buy from people. So if no one knows you're in business, you might as well not be. Investors won't know to back you. Customers won't know to work with you. Agents won't think of you when a juicy deal lands. Investors won't find you when they're looking for someone to invest their money with. Friends and family will assume that you're exactly where you are. Visibility builds credibility. Visibility builds trust, and visibility builds opportunity. It's not about having the most successful, the smartest, or on brand social media. It's just about being visible. Nobody cares about all that extra shit. It's about showing up consistently, showing up real, authentic, and making people invest in you and the journey, believing in you, relating to you. You might feel silly posting that property update, doing a reel, telling people what you're up to. You might think no one's going to watch it, no one cares. Let me tell you something. Someone out there needs to see you win. They need to see you doing this before they invest with you or choose to work with you. There are people watching and deciding right now if you're the person that they want to invest with, partner with, recommend. So if you don't have visibility, you can't build credibility. And if you can't build credibility, no opportunities are going to come your way. And people can't buy from you unless they know, like, and trust you. People can't buy from you, trust you, or even invest with you or in you if they don't know you exist. Okay. Visibility is not about perfection, it's about presence. Remember, I said at the beginning, it's like oxygen. Visibility is like oxygen, and it is an asset that you can compound. So, one thing that you can do if you haven't done this already is optimize your online bios. Okay, so if somebody lands on your social media profile, which, let's face it, is your shop front, could they figure out in 5 seconds who you are, what you do, and whether they can trust what you offer? Because if they can't do that, you need to optimize your bio so it does. Okay. So here's one that I did earlier. I change my bio depending on what I've got going in that month. And so usually on here it says if you're a beginner in property, click the link below and join the call. Book a call with me and I will talk to you about how I can teach you how to do property for beginners. But I'm actually promoting my Visibility Accelerator, which launches in October. So my bio matches that. I've also got there that I'm a serial entrepreneur, investor, writer, speaker. If you click more, there'll be some links, and there's some links here to get in touch with me. Same for my LinkedIn. So go onto your online profiles and make sure that your bios show who you are, what you do, and what problems you solve. Okay, very important. And I want you to think about as well, consistent high value content. Now, I'm going to talk shortly about quality versus quantity and what the right thing is to do there. But what you need to make sure is that your content is value driven and it's accessible for followers. It builds a bit of authority and also that it's consistent, because if you're consistent, people see that you are consistently showing up. That builds trust as well. And I'm going to talk about something called the mere exposure effect in the next slide. But having your face on there, super important. Now, I've got these cats in here to sort of represent how bored the one is on the left, that post there, and how excited maybe the one is on the right, but it's not quite having the same effect that I want. But there you go. So no offense to this person, and I've anonymized them so that they can, so that we don't want to criticize people. But I've seen this person pop up on social media quite a lot. Now, I think this person is after other people to invest with them to build their property business. But unfortunately, they put very, very few photos on. I think I might have seen one with a roast dinner. And I'm not criticizing this person in a negative way, but I look at that and I think, I don't care. It's boring. There's nothing there that grabs my attention. Why do I care about property investors looking to Lincoln in 2025? I don't. In fact, if I'm a potential investor, I might not even know that I'm a potential investor. So even using that word investor, depending on who you're sort of trying to target, your audience, people who are watching this might not even know that is them. You might want to think, got some money in the bank? I can invest it for you. Or got some money in the bank? Want to get a better return? Let me have a little look at that for you. Why more property investors are looking to, like, Jesus, that is so fucking boring. I'm sorry. You need something that's going to hook them and grab them straight away. Something that goes, oh, that could be me. Talk the same language as your audience. People don't know that they might be an investor. They might just be people with inheritance. They might be people with savings in the bank. They might have been made redundant and want to make money on their money, but they don't know that they are an investor. Compared to some of my content, I think mine's quite value driven. Okay. I do educational reels, area due diligence. I talk to parents about teaching their children. I do some personal posts. I do some posts about me mentoring other people. I do some random posts. I do one when my dog died, bless him. I do a variety of posts that builds trust in me, shows people that I'm human, and I pepper it with what I'm trying to get out of it, whether that is to get more clients for property school or bring more mentees on board, or, more recently and probably near in the future, it might be to raise finance, because that's what we're building also. Okay, so let's now talk to you about something called the mere exposure effect. Okay, let's think for a second about the importance of la visage, the face. So the mere exposure effect is this psychological phenomenon where repeated exposure to something or a stimulus leads to an increased liking or preference for that stimulus. And what it does is it suggests that familiarity leads to positive feelings, even if you've got no explicit association or relationship with whatever that thing is. Now, the only way I can describe this is if there are any Friends fans out there, like huge Friends fans, like I was a huge Friends fan, when Matthew Perry died, I cried. don't know the guy from Adam. I literally don't know from Adam. He was a fantastic actor. He was super, super funny. I even read his book in 2022 or three, I think it came out. I felt like I knew him, but I watch Friends pretty much every day. Call me sad, but I do. It's like my hug at the end of the day. It's my uplift, and it makes me laugh. But when Matthew Perry died, I cried. Why? Because I've been exposed to this man as an actor, as somebody who is in my life every single, pretty much every day on TV. I don't know him from Adam. I literally don't know him from Adam, but I cried because I've seen him all the time. I've seen him over and over and over and over. That is the mere exposure effect. I've become familiar with this actor, familiar with this person. So the more I've seen him, the safer I've felt and the more connected I've felt to them, which is strange. I'm going to give you this example here as well. Richard Branson, who owns Virgin. Look at the difference in the following there. Richard Branson's got 4.9 million followers. I think I took the screenshot a few months ago, so there might be more. And Virgin's got 250,000. Tell me, personal branding, building the brand around you and your face doesn't work. Okay. So the more often someone sees you and your face, or hears your voice, sees your tone, hears your tone, views your body language, your mannerisms, the safer you feel to them. Okay. The more often someone sees you, the safer you feel to them. People don't buy from strangers, they buy from familiar faces. And the visibility sort of shrinks that stranger danger reflex. Okay. So if we translate this for business, being visible, even completely imperfectly, beats being polished but invisible. Okay. And don't think, I don't want to post too much. It's not annoying, it's essential for sales readiness. Okay. So posting often with your face in it, your voice, your story, your journey, even more important. Okay, so that's a couple of things you can think about for online and offline. I am going to talk to you a little bit about a conversational technique as well. You can do this online and offline. Now, there is a little bit more to this, and I talk about this in my Path to Property program in the section on marketing. And I will be talking about this in more detail on my visibility accelerator, much more detail. And this is my leadership coaching background coming in, I suppose. So, what is the bridging technique? Let's think to politicians. Let's think to these politicians and let's think about the way that they never answer the fucking question, do they? I'm not going to apologize for swearing. It's part of me and who I am. So, is what it is, but they never answer the fucking question. And they go round and round and round and round in circles and they cover the points that they want to cover. This is called the bridging technique. It is very, very popular in media. Now, let's say you're in a conversation with Linda, your elderly neighbor next door. And let's say she's talking about Ivy climbing up the wall, climbing up the fence. And Linda's got a little bit of money because she's retired. She spends her days getting her nails done, doing a bit of gardening. And you think, okay, maybe she could be a potential investor. It's not about exploiting people. Obviously, you're being ethical, but potentially a potential investor. So here's how you drive a conversation from one topic to another, covering the points that you want to cover without it seeming like it's a complete change of subject. So I'll give you my example. I'm chatting to Linda in the garden one summer. This isn't actually Linda. This is a stock photo. And I'm talking to her over the fence. And we've got a bit of ivy growing up our outhouse. We've got a 2-story outhouse, so it's quite tall. And it forms the boundary with Linda next door. It's a bit of context for you there. Oh God, Steph, she said, I'm sick of this ivy. Oh, Colin, he's the guy who lived here before us. He absolutely loved it. It's a nightmare. It's destroying the fence. It's destroying the wall of the outhouse. Blah, blah, blah. What are we going to do? Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to acknowledge what she's saying. I know, Linda. What was he thinking? Oh my God, this ivy is absolutely terrible. Now, I want to try and get the topic of ivy into property and talk about raising finance. But how do I do that? I use something called a bridge. I bridge the conversation. I steer it in the direction that I want to steer it to make sure that I am covering what I want to say. So my bridges. Do you know what? Funnily enough, I've literally just bought a house or I viewed a house or whatever. And it was absolutely encased with ivy. It was so bad, it was growing through the walls of the house. However, now I'm going to cover my key points. However, I'm really pleased that we've managed to secure an investor, somebody with a bit of money in the bank, some inheritance, and we've secured them at £20,000 for an 8% return. Now they have got a little bit more money, so I'm pleased. So they can invest more and we could potentially sort this ivy out. And do you know what? Now I'm going to, so I've covered my key points. Now I'm going to dangle a carrot. And do you know what? I'm absolutely made up because I've got the money to fund the refurb. And it's a complete win-win because they're getting 8% return on their money. You know, you find me a bank that gives you 8% return. And I get to sort this property out and then rent it out or sell it or whatever. But anyway, and now I'm diverting. I know exactly what you mean about this ivy. Ivy, freaking nightmare. Now, I've given you a very brief overview of the bridging technique there. Okay. So the A, B, C, D, D. Now, you've got to be mindful that this doesn't work in every single circumstance. And there will be times when this is not appropriate to do. You've got to read the room, you've got to know your audience. But is this something that I use or did use in the past when I was really seriously raising finance? Absolutely. Because the key to being visible, and in my case, I wanted to be visible to raise finance, is to talk to people about property, what problems I solve, how we can make it win-win, how I make other people money as well as myself, is to talk about it at every given opportunity. And this is one of the ways that I do that. So if you ever do manage to do this, please let me know because this has had quite a bit of success. People have tried this and messaged me and said, ended up talking about property in the teaching staff room today. Like, what? That's insane. They're just shocked. So it really, really does work. And this has actually been tried and tested by me and also by some of my mentees who are in jobs where people wouldn't even think about talking about property. And it's led to some potential deals, assisted sales, and even investments. So you just never know. So it's visible online and offline. All right. What else can we think about when we are posting on social media or when we're talking to people about raising finance or whatever it is we're selling? Social proof and testimonials. This really does enhance your visibility for a few reasons. If you have social proof, it proves that you're doing what you say you do on the tin. It proves that other people have invested with you, not just from a money point of view, but they've bought into you, your story, your journey, and they're following you. So these are screenshots. So I've got videos where people have said, Steph's program is fantastic. I've learned loads. I've got some properties. But likewise, what I've done is I've posted what I've been doing. I've been posting, you know, numbers, if you like. So I bought this house for this. This is what I spent. This is what it's worth. I've even got a photo here with my investor, Meg, her husband, Steve, my friend, Martin from university, and his 3 children as well. Now, let me talk to you about the power of posting social proof about what you're doing. Talking about what you're doing for social proof. So I started posting online probably much later than I should have done. But when I did start posting saying we're looking for investors and so on, Martin contacted me out the blue. Now, the last time I saw Martin was at my 21st birthday. Mindful, this was about 5 years ago. So I think I would have been about 32, 33 when he contacted me. And he said, how are you doing? I've always had him on social media, but he said, how are you doing? So my mother-in-law, which is Meg, my father-in-law, Steve, my mother-in-law wants somewhere to put her money. Can you help? I was like, he doesn't engage with anything on social media for me. There's never been a like, there's never been a comment, there's never been a share, there's never even been a message exchanged about it prior to this. And I was like, holy shit. Like all those times we're posting, nobody's messaging, nobody's commenting, nobody's liking. And then just out the blue, I got a message from Martin 12 years after I've seen him and had a conversation with him. We've always been friends on Facebook. But it was because I was posted about what I was doing that encouraged him to reach out and get in touch with me. Now, Meg and Steve are long-term investors, and they've been receiving much better returns than the bank for a while. And by me posting that on social media and saying, a huge thank you to our investors, what that's actually led to is an increase in people getting in touch and saying, hey, I've got some money, can you invest it? So there you go. So post what you're doing. If you've got no testimonials, you still need to be posting online what you're doing, whether that is, I'm viewing smelly houses today, I've got a photo of me in front of an avocado colored bathroom or brown smelly carpets, or this is what happened today. And you're documenting, you're journaling, you're not just posting, you're documenting. That is social proof that you are out and you are about and you are trying to build that business. That creates trust. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit now. And again, this is a pure crash course in visibility. We go into way more detail on this when it comes to the Visibility Accelerator or the visibility workshops that I run. But I'm going to give you a brief overview of the 3-step content framework for property investors. It's build, back, and bank. All right. So when you're putting yourself out there as a property investor, you don't just need the deals, you need the credibility, the visibility, and of course you need money. So this build, back, and bank framework I've come up with is simple, it sticks, and it's how you turn posts into pounds. So the first one is that you've got to build. So these are 3 different types of posts, okay? 3 different types of posts. So you've got your build posts. These are like your conversation starters. This is about the building of the visibility, showing people you're active, showing people you're serious, you're in the game. Like I said before, posting on social media what you're doing, where you're going, and so on. Think of it like sourcing a property. If no one knows that you're looking, the deals aren't going to find you. So you build your presence with your posts, your photos, your stories, anything that proves you're out there doing the work. And this is to build trust. This is to get engagement. This is to get DMs, comments. This is to start relationships with people. This is to build that visibility and show people what you're doing. Then we've got the back type posts. So these are the posts that you'll do online that are more of the authority builders. So you back what you're doing with proof. This shows your credibility and proves that you are investable. You've got to back up what you're saying. Anyone can shout about property online, but investors are looking for the proof, okay? Whether this is where you might have a property, you might do some befores and afters, case studies, potential property. You don't have to have a property yet either, but potential properties, some potential numbers, tips, lessons learned. It shows that you're credible. So you're not just talking the talk, you've got the receipts to back it up. So anything that you are doing that shows you are not just sat behind a screen and looking on Rightmove, that you are out and about and you're networking and you're talking to people. At the end of the day, you've got to be out there. There are a lot of people that I mentor on the beginner program who are very reluctant to get out from behind the computer, out of their house, and actually hitting the streets, getting serious shoe leather on the ground. You can build that visibility in the same way that you can build something online, but you've got to back it. Okay, you've got to get out there and you've actually got to start doing it. And the last type of post is what we call the bank type post. This is where we ask people to try and take action. This is where we convert all this visibility and attention into funding, into partners, maybe JV partners, property, and so on. So your bank, this is where your visibility and your credibility starts to pay off. Now, be under no illusion and make no mistake. None of this is going to happen overnight. You don't eat the fruit the day you sow the seeds. So you've got to be sowing those seeds all of the time. I don't care if you started yesterday. I don't care if you started an hour ago. Start building that visibility, because visibility means that you are more credible. People don't know what you're doing. They can't invest with you, or they won't invest in you as a story, as a brand. So when we get to these bank type posts and we're trying to get them on a call, get their email address for a newsletter or whatever, unless we've actually got all of that other stuff, we've got the build, the visibility post, the back it up type posts, no one's going to actually, you're not going to get it in the bank basically, or in the bag. No one's going to book a call. No one's going to be interested in investing it with you or in you. Okay. And when I say with you, I mean giving you their money to fund your deals, or in you, in other words, being your advocate. and talking about you in rooms you're not in. Okay. So this type of post is where you invite people to take the next step, whether that's booking a call, whether that's investing with you, low pressure sort of, hey, book a call. I'm sure we can have a chat about it if you're interested. This is how you turn your attention into actual conversations. Now, if you can get face to face with them, that's where you'll really get the money. So build the visibility, back it with proof, and bank the deal. Keep this simple framework in mind when you're posting, and every post you put out will either be building your presence, backing your credibility, or banking a result. So again, we go into way more detail about this on the Visibility Accelerator program, 6-month program. And I give people examples. I tell people when to post all these different type of posts. I give them different formats. I give them templates. I give them example posts and so on. So something that you can really get your teeth into. So this is very much a nutshell. Okay, so every post has that purpose, build, back, and bank. Now, just a little side note about quality over quantity. People say, make sure it's quality over quantity. Don't just post. Well, first of all, it depends how much time you've got. All right. It depends how much time you've got to consistently post. But honestly, if you're just out and about, it will take you 30 seconds to do a video. Remember, it's not going viral. It's not being polished and perfected. It's on your own social media where your friends and family and followers can see. Don't build a separate page unless you really, really have to. But quantity over quality is okay as well. Obviously, you've got to make sure they have some sort of quality or you're given some sort of information. Don't just say, hi guys, here's a picture of me with me Sunday dinner. No one gives a shit about your Sunday dinner. If you said, hey guys, having a lovely Sunday dinner, it's been nice to spend time in the kitchen and actually have some time cooking, and I've made these stuffing balls from scratch, and I've done this and I've done that, and I've rebuilt turkey and I killed it and plucked it, and here we are. But it's been great to be able to do this because I've got the time because I've sacked my boss. That's a bit different. Sorry, that was really convoluted. The way my brain works. But quantity over quality is okay as well. And I'll tell you why. Because if you are analyzing your social media content, in other words, if you're analyzing what people are watching, what people are viewing, what people are engaging in, then you can start to say, actually, people seem to like this kind of content more than that. So I'm going to do more of that. People seem to like the reels more than they like the stories. So I'm going to do more reels. People seem to like my content about my family rather than content about my Sunday dinner. So I might do more of that. Again, it's a complete personal preference, but then you can double down on what people actually engage with and what people actually like. And again, in the Visibility Accelerator program, we go into detail on how to analyze those analytics, where to find them, how to do it, and actually an action plan, a really straightforward, simple action plan from, well, here's what people like, what do I do next? But don't be scared to just post and see what people engage with more. All right, hands up who has spoken at a networking event, on a podcast, or on a live stream. Obviously, I can't see you if you've got your hands up. And hands up if it's converted into what you want and need. Now, if you are new to property, get to networking events. I mean, don't listen to everyone at networking events because some people just talk absolute shit. But get to property networking events. And if you've got a story to tell, ask the event host, listen, can I do like 10, 15 minutes at the beginning? Can I introduce myself and tell them of my story and where I'm going and what I'm doing? If you are 1 or 2 properties in and you want to be a bit more visible, speak to the network hosts. Can I talk about what I've been up to? Can I talk about, what problems I've solved, give the audience some educational value. I always think that if you're going to talk at a networking event, people want to know about your journey, but they also want to know what you've learned from it. So I always go with the idea that, okay, well, what have I learned? What can people get out of this? So it's not just me saying, oh, I grew up in Birkenhead and, it's a poor area and I defied the system, but getting some degrees and look at me go. And then I sacked my boss and you've got to have something in there that is a lesson. And for me, it was to have the audacity to succeed. But how dare I? So if you haven't already spoken at a networking event, this is another way to be a bit more visible. In fact, just attending networking events. posting about the speaker, tagging them in your post can enhance your visibility. So if you do that, make sure that when you tag them, a great networking event with such and such a speaker, but this is what I took away from it. They know that they're given some value, and you're using that as leverage as well in a couple of ways. You're saying, well, I learned from you, so I'm going to acknowledge that. I'm also going to tag you and leverage your social media following to maybe get some of my own. But what you're also doing is leveraging your own social media as an authority builder. Remember, back it up. You're showing people that you are actually in the right rooms. One thing that I would suggest if you are speaking at a networking event is to turn that talk into multiple assets. This is what we call cross-pollination, okay? And you can do this for your own talk, or you can do it for somebody else's that you have listened to. So I generally, if I'm doing a talk, whether it's on Zoom or, in the room, I'll have a camera on me and I'll have a microphone, because I like to work smarter, not harder. And what I then do is I then post quotes about that. I'll stick the transcript through ChatGPT. I'll post quotes about that on social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. I will send an email out to my database. I will do a 60-second sort of story, and I will take that whole talk and I will clip it up into small reels if it's recorded. So I will repurpose my posts quite a lot. So I turn one talk into multiple assets. You should have a think about that too. Now, hands up who does email marketing and is consistent with it. Because if you're not marketing via email, and again, we go into way more detail about this on the Visibility Accelerator, email marketing is quite a lot more successful if you do it correctly than social media marketing, because it goes straight to people's inboxes. Whereas on social media, you are relying on the algorithm showing other people your posts. Okay. So if you're not doing email marketing, whether that could even be a monthly newsletter to friends and family, then you're not working hard enough, to be honest. But by doing this, you're actually going to be working smarter, because you can set up an automated email system that works whilst you sleep. And again, work smarter, not harder. Whatever you post in that week or in that month on your social media, you can round it up into an email. You can round it up into a newsletter. So you therefore don't have to completely recreate content from scratch. You can show people what you've been up to. You can even cross-pollinate. You can even include links to your social media in that actual email as well, if you wanted to gain a few more followers. All right, so just a little reflection there, if this doesn't go a little bit funny for your eyes. You can DM me this. You can write it down and put it on a post-it note or stick it to your own pinboard or computer. I mean, I'd really love it if people DM'd me. What's the one thing you can do in the next 24 hours to move closer to that North Star? What's the one thing you can do in the next 24 hours to be more visible, to build that credibility? What's that 1% extra? In fact, what can you do? Never mind in 24 hours. What can you do today? Okay. And if you want me to keep you accountable, email me, steph@property-school.com, and tell me how you're going to be more visible, what you're going to do to move closer to that North Star. Now, the North Star, and we talk about this in property school every quarter, is your main goal. And if what you're doing isn't keeping you on track to that North Star, you're going to end up down a black hole. So think about what your main goal is. Okay. How can I be more visible online and offline? Maybe it is I'm going to do 3 posts a week. Maybe I'm going to document more about what I'm doing. Maybe I'm going to build an email database. Maybe, just maybe, I'm going to start a WhatsApp group with people who are close to me, who are really interested in what I'm doing. Maybe I'm going to go to another networking event. Maybe I'm going to make it my mission to speak to 5 new people every single week about property. Okay. What are you going to do to be more visible? Now, I don't like the excuses. I don't like posting online. I'm not very good at videos, blah, 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 etc. I've got nothing to say to that other than get over it. Because if you don't, you will not build your business. The reason why you should be doing this has to be stronger than your why not. Trust me. Okay, so hopefully you got quite a lot out of that because we're knocking on 45 minutes. I've been banging on about the Visibility Accelerator, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what this is. Now, we've had some, well, I've had some fantastic feedback from the visibility workshops that I've run in the past, so much so that I'm now launching the Visibility Accelerator. Now, this one blew my mind. Okay, that was after just one call with me. This one was after 40 minutes with me on a one-to-one, to be fair. And you can see there, you can pause this. People have just got so much out of just even the first session with me on visibility. Imagine what 6 months is going to do. It includes spreadsheets, worksheets, templates, checklists. We've got a group. We're going to be in a group chat for accountability. I'm going to give you exact steps to take, literally the exact steps to take in this visibility accelerator. So you won't come away from it going, I literally don't know what to do or where to start. I'm literally going to tell you what to do every 2 weeks to build it. And that is because I was a fucking good teacher, and that's what people need to avoid that overwhelm. Okay, so Visibility Accelerator, there will be an application process to this. It's a strictly no knobs allowed environment. But also we have to make sure that there are people in this who are actually going to do the work, because I'm doing it. I'm capping it for 20 people only. I'm doing this for 6 months. So we do need some commitments. It's going to be 2 live Zooms a month, $39.99 a month, which is an absolute bargain. Why so cheap? Because I believe in keeping the barrier to entry low in property education, but also I've never ran a 6-month program for visibility before. I've done it in one-to-one sessions. I've done it in group sessions. I've done it as a 3 to 5 hour workshop. I've done 1-day workshops, but I've never done it as 6 months. Now, for me, I'm really excited about this because it's very much like building a curriculum, which I've basically done. I'm going to give everyone the recordings. You're going to have access to the resources in a Google Drive. You're going to be in a group chat for accountability, and this is where you'll have access to me. I don't do one-to-one support, but I do group support with this as well. There will be probably some bonus calls, and I will adjust as I go and cater to what you need. Again, templates, worksheets, systems, and processes. So if you are interested in this, the link is going to be in the comments to this webpage just here for you so you can see. Let me just share my screen again. So you might want to head over to this. And as you can see, it's the 6-month program, and it goes through exactly what we are going to be covering in the 6 months. Okay. Now, this is subject to change ever so slightly. And again, I will adjust and change to the group dynamics and the group needs, because that's what teachers do. Obviously, you'll get an invite to our Christmas and summer events. And if you wanted any power hour calls, you'll get that massively discounted rate with me, but you might not need them. And of course, some social proof. Remember, social proof is important. And of course, there's some freebies here and a bit of an application form, but this doesn't necessarily mean you will be offered a space. Okay. So to that end, I want to massively thank you for being here. I'm just going to go back to my visibility screen. There we go. I want to thank you for being here. And if you haven't already, subscribe. If you got any use out of this, or you thought any of it was helpful and handy, DM me on social media, email me steph@property-school.com, connect with me, subscribe, comment below, and there's plenty more where this came from. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope we can connect. See you guys. Have a good day.